Alright, what's up, dudes? Today we are reviewing the Chavez Redencion 229 Kickstop. This is a new release from Chavez, and it's using a very, very smart mechanism in here, invented by Lee Williams, called the Kickstop. You can see his logo right there, Lee Williams Kickstop, and it's basically a flipper tab that hides itself in the open position. So there it is. Flip it. Where'd it go? It's not sticking out right here. It's back in there. It's hiding. So this is an amazing knife, an amazing contraption here, and we're going to talk all about it. First of all, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do so. And follow me on Instagram as well, duties_daggers. I'd appreciate it. It's a really cool channel. You'll be happy that you did, I promise. Just do it, Just freaking do it. All right, so a couple things we need to get out of the way first. First is measurements. Let's get the ruler out. Blade length. This is a big knife. I mean, yeah, big, pretty freaking big knife. Blade length is about 3.5 inches. It's hard to measure the cutting edge, but I guess we can measure the primary edge here is 2 inches, and then the tanto portion is about 1 3/4 inch. The handle is about 4 5/8 inch, and overall we're looking at, it's longer than my ruler, so it's about like 8 1/4 inches. Yeah, it's large. Size comparisons to put it into perspective for you. My other Chavez, the Scapegoat. There you go. It's larger than the Scapegoat. Not a whole lot longer, but definitely beefier this way, wider. Spyderco Paramilitary 2. This is the Warncliffe, but the regular version is the same size. And Delica. There you go. Let's do a few more. Let's do the new CJRB Pyrite Warncliffe version. And one more. What should we do? Let's do the Cuvist PE2. How about that? It's large. It's quite large. And I don't usually do this, but I want to show you the thickness of this as well, because this is a quite thick knife. So I'm going to set it like this. And let's bring back the PM2. Let's bring back the Delica. You can see it's fat. Let's bring back the Pyrite. It's thick. Just as thick as the Scapegoat. So same thickness, wider this way on the Redencion here. All right. One thing left to do, we need to measure the thickness behind the edge and the blade stock. So we have a compound grind here. This is the Tanto version. This also came in a drop point, but both are compound ground. So we have a really nice hollow grind here, flat grind up here. So it's going to be thinner behind the edge here, a little bit thicker up here. That's how Tantos are supposed to be, Tantos, the advantages of Tantos are a very strong tip for piercing. That's really what they're meant for. So let's see what we're looking at for blade stock thickness. It's pretty freaking thick. We're looking at 0.15. And let's check the measurement behind the edge back here. We have 16 thousandths. Let's check in the middle, see if it stays consistent. Come on. Come on. Yep. And 16 thousandths all the way down. That's great. That's a thin measurement, and since it's a hollow grind, that's not going to get fatter as you sharpen. And hollow grinds pass through materials much easier as you're slicing because there's less of the blade kind of rubbing along the material you're cutting, less friction in here. Now, before we continue, I need to make you guys aware that I haven't done any hard cutting with this knife. This is a knife that is going to stay in my collection and be kept very nice and pretty. That's just my choice. It's my knife. I get to do what I want with it. But this is, in fact, a very heavy-duty precision cutting tool. So if I wanted to take this out, EDC it, carry it, hard use it, beat on it, it would absolutely take the abuse. It would do well at it, actually. And I know that because I have carried and used and done a full cut test with my other Chavez, my Scapegoat. Now, it's a different knife, but it's very similar construction. And let me tell you something. This cut so freaking well. Way better than I thought it would. So you can go watch the cut testing video on this, the Scapegoat, if you want. I'll pin it up in the corner. Ergonomics are just fantastic on both of these knives. The way that he does the grinds, just they slice, man. They got thick blade stock, but you will be surprised at how well this knife sliced. Really, really well. So I can say with very, very much confidence, this is going to be a beast of a user. But I have decided to keep mine nice and pretty. And that could change down the road. I'm kind of, I'm in the honeymoon phase with the knife. I could decide down the road to start using it. But for now, it's staying nice and pretty. So let's talk about the construction of the knife. Full titanium handles here with no milling on the inside. So full thickness titanium, which I actually really like. Some people don't. Some people are more worried about weight. I'm not. I'm not someone that's worried about weight in my knives at all. I have light knives that I carry if I'm wearing shorts or basketball shorts or something like that. But for the most part, I'm wearing jeans or Carhartts, so I don't care. I don't care if a knife's really heavy, and that's just me. It depends on what you do for a living. Your whole lifestyle. But for me, full thickness titanium scales, awesome. It just it adds to kind of the feeling of solidity and toughness. So full thickness titanium. We have really nice kind of beefy hardware back here. T8s everywhere. I love this hardware, man. I like how they kind of. I don't think they grind down, but just the way this hardware is shaped, it's got kind of like a flat spot on the top right there. I don't know. It just looks good. I think it looks really good. Same T8s on the pocket clip. Well, we'll talk about the pocket clip while we're over here. This is the Chavez skull clip, which some crybabies don't like. I personally think it's awesome. Chavez. This is his logo. It's on the box. It's on the knife. It's his thing. So I'm gonna leave it. That's the designer's choice, and I happen to really like it. Some people don't agree, and that's okay. You can have your own feelings about it. And if you are somebody that doesn't like this clip, there is a plain one that comes with the knife, so you can always do that. If you don't want to be cool, you can do that, I guess. I'm just kidding. You can do whatever you want. So that's the handle. Now, one thing I wanted to point out about the handle is this cut right here. Now, this scale is all, before it's milled out, it comes in one rectangular piece of titanium, right? And they have to mill in these chamfers. They drill holes, and they have to make this cut right here to form the lock bar. This lock bar is not a separate piece. It's all part of this one side of the scale. So they have to cut right here, come around here, all the way down here, back and end right back here. Now, on most frame locks, that's a pretty wide gap in here because they're probably usually done by a milling machine and an end mill bit. This was not done that way because there's no end mill bits that are that thin. I mean, it would just snap. So I'm not sure exactly how they did this cut. It's very impressive. It is such a thin gap in there. maybe it's like wire EDM or something like that. I don't know too much about that process, but I hear that phrase, and I know that it's a way to cut metals. So maybe that's it. I don't know. It's very cool though. I mean, even compared to the scapegoat, it's a thinner gap. And the scapegoat's already quite thin. Let me grab some more frame locks so we can kind of compare here. Let's see. Well, we'll grab the hinderer. That's a pretty thin one too. Definitely not as thin though. Let's see, what else we got? Titanium frame locks, baby. Here's a Tucson. Not as thin. And here's kind of a wider one from Tucson. So go look at your collection if you want. Go look at all your frame locks. I can almost guarantee you won't find one with this thin of a gap from for separating the lock bar from the rest of the scale. It's really impressive. It's really, really cool. I don't know. I like thinking about things like that. Like, how did they do that? It's just cool. So anyways, the lock bar relief cut is on the outside, mostly covered up by the clip. And it's back here, kind of back behind where the clip touches, so your pants aren't going to snag up on these corners. So that's great. That's a problem on some frame locks with this relief cut on the outside. So it can be a problem, but it's not here. The pocket clip is pretty deep carry, but not totally. It's about, let's see, you have about that much sticking out of your pocket, so pretty deep carry. We have a really, really epic stone washing finish on this titanium. I really, really like it. Man, there's stone washed titanium, when it's done right, just looks so freaking good, man. I like it more than bead blasts or any kind of blasts. I'm a stone wash guy with titanium. I think it just looks so good. It's gonna hide scratches pretty well too. So really, really nice. We have a very wide chamfer going all the way around the whole outline of the scales. That helps the ergonomics, kind of rounds things out a little bit, knocks down these sharp corners. They're not contoured scales, obviously, but let me tell you, man, this is an extremely comfortable knife to grip onto. Absolutely zero hot spots. I do not feel the clip one single bit. There's just zero hot spots, man. I'm telling you, this is an extremely ergonomic knife. And you might not even guess it just looking at it, because there's a flat surface here. It's not completely contoured, but I think it just has to do with these wide, kind of deep chamfers and just the whole kind of shape of the handle. We have a very subtle kind of drop back to this point. You can see about right there. We're coming along straight, and then right back here, it kind of drops down a little bit. We have this cut out here, and then just this slight curve right here. It just, I don't know, man. It just comes together in such a comfortable handle. Same goes for both of these. Just they're neutral handles, and there's subtle lines, but they're just done perfectly. So, really, really nice. Let's talk about the blade. It's an M390 blade. Beautiful compound grind. I love this fat swedge up here. It looks so, so good. Belt satin finish on all the bevels and the swedge, and same belt satin on the flats, but it's going horizontally. Really nice contrast between all those different surfaces. Just looks really nice playing around in the light. Really, really nice. Super duper nice. Very aggressive deep jimping up here, which is not really my favorite type of jimping, but it goes with the aesthetic of the knife, so it really doesn't bother me at all on this knife in particular. And it is actually very grippy. Not too grippy to where it hurts your thumb, but it's definitely grippy. So that's totally fine with me. Now you might notice we don't have a sharpening choil here. And before I got the knife, I thought maybe that was because something to do with the kickstop mechanism. Maybe it needed to have this flat spot here. You know, maybe something was rubbing on there or whatever. But I don't think it does. There's nothing that comes in contact with that flat spot. You can see it right in there. And, you know, if you keep your eye on it as it swings open, there's really nothing that needs to clear that area or anything that I can tell. So I'm not sure why they didn't cut it in a sharpening choil, to be honest with you. The only thing I can really guess is they wanted you to be able to choke up, and this is a pretty adequate flat spot right here to choke up. So it's got to be that. I can't think of another reason why they would not have a sharpening choil. Honestly, I'd probably rather have a sharpening choil than be able to choke up. Because the way the handle is, you're already pretty close to the edge. I feel close enough right here. I don't really feel like I need to choke up on this knife. So, I don't know. It's kind of, if I had one nitpick about the knife, it would be that. I wish there was just a sharpening choil here instead of this kind of choke up area. But, you know, at least we don't have our edge bevel kind of fattening up right here. They did end it before the plunge grind, just barely though, just barely. So it's not going to fatten up until probably, I don't know, maybe your third sharpening. Unless you're just, you know, if you're just kind of touching it up, it'll probably be fine for a pretty long time. But eventually, this will start to get a little bit wider right here, the edge bevel. So that's a little nitpick. As far as I know, you can probably cut in your own. Do not take my word for that, though, and I would be nervous too, just in case there's something going on in here I'm not seeing, I'm not aware of. I would be really nervous to do that, and I usually do. I usually cut in my own choils on knives that don't have one or have a shitty one. This one, I don't think I'm going to. I just want to keep it nice and pretty, and it doesn't really bother me that much, so I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, not a huge issue for me. What else? We have a full titanium backspacer. We talked about the clip. Yeah, that's the construction. We talked about ergonomics already a little bit. They're just really freaking good. Really, really freaking good, man. You could have really large hands and still be perfectly good on this knife. That's how much extra I have hanging out the back. It's a big knife, man, but it doesn't feel like too big at all. And I'm not a large knife guy usually. I like big knives, but not like very super large knives. This feels perfect for me. This feels absolutely very good. Let's talk about the action and the kickstop mechanism, which is really the star of the show here. You know, it's on an extremely badass and amazing platform. This Redencion 229 is really an epic knife. One that I would have bought anyways eventually, even if it never got a kickstop, because there's a thumb stud version of the knife. It's an amazing knife already, and then when you add the kickstop mechanism, it rockets it into multiple levels above. It's insane, man. So let's look at the flipper tab itself. A lot of jimping, very grippy, jimping right on the top right there. And the way that it's shaped, you get so much leverage when you pull this thing back. You can light switch it, but it almost turns into, well, let's see. Yeah, you can light switch it. If you push button it, yeah, you can actually do either really, really easily. I think I usually push button it though. Yeah. Gosh, it's so fun to flip this thing. And I'm usually not a huge fan of flipper only knives. There are some exceptions. The only I can think of is Protect Malibu and Sharp by Design Mini Evo, and this. Those are the only three knives I can think of that I love and are flipper onlys. all three of those knives are extremely good flippers, and that's why. If I like a flipper only knife, it's got to be an extremely good detent and really, really snappy, good flipper. And this knife absolutely is that. So really comfortable on the deployment. Let's see what happens when we flip this knife. So we break the detent. At that point, this flipper tab is loose in there. You can see you can move it around. So the blade swinging open, this is still loose in there. Swinging open, and then it catches right here, and it starts pushing it down in there. Now what's going to happen, this is going to flip all the way down in there like that, and it's going to become the stop for the blade. So check this out. It's rotating, this falls in, right in here, and then this part of the blade, that flat spot right there, is going to come in contact with that flipper tab, forming the stop for the blade. There's no stop pin. The flipper tab is the stop pin. How crazy is that, man? So let's check it out again. You flip it. This is loose. It's loose. It's loose. It starts kind of going back in its area. It sits down in there. The blade comes up and hits it in its kind of folded position. That is genius. That is so freaking cool, man. He's a genius. He's an absolute genius. Now, there are a few knives that already have a kickstop, and that I can only think of 3 right now, including this one. There might be more. In fact, I think there is more. But the 3 I can think of right now is the F22, the Jared Oster F22, and there's a Shirogorov also that has a kickstop. And that's the only ones I can think of right now. So it's not many. There are more, though. But man, I can think of a lot of knives that I would love to have a kickstop on. So who knows what the future looks like for Lee Williams and his kickstop. I would love to see this on a bunch of knives, So we'll see. It seems like it's starting to happen slowly with some knives. So I'll be very curious to see what is the next kickstop knife. It's just a really fantastic mechanism, Flipper tabs are always in the way, in the open position. They're great for flipping a knife, but then they're right there. They're in the way. You can't choke up any, you have to be either behind it or in front of it. You can't, you're locked into a specific spot. Sometimes they really mess with the ergos. With the hinderer, they don't really. But it's just poking out there. It's in the way, So to have it, be used and then just gone back in here it's just perfect, man. I was talking to Jason, Puerto Rican with a knife, the other day, and he just had his flipper tab on his hinderer Eclipse taken off. He had a flipper delete on his Eclipse. And in my opinion, it's a much better knife now without it. If that knife had a kickstop, he would have never had to do that. It would have just been perfect right from the beginning. Now, let's talk about how the detent feels. Chavez knives have great detents, in my experience. Really stout, but not too stout. Really snappy, just really very, very good detents. This is no different. The amount of leverage you have makes it feel not like hard to flip, but you can feel it when you try to pull the blade out. It's really a strong detent. I mean, super strong. So, that just tells you how much leverage you actually have, because it doesn't really feel like it's hard to flip this at all. But man, when you do, it just kicks out. And this is a pretty big, heavy blade too. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy how this thing rockets out. There's also a little bit of like a click-clack, like a two-tone kind of sound. I think that's probably the sound of this clicking down maybe, or I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's something to do with the flipper tab, obviously. but it makes such a good sound, dude. Such a good sound. It's butter smooth when you let it drop too. Really kind of a controlled hydraulic kind of drop. I was thinking about putting skips in here. I might do it. I mean, the action's already so good, but I guess it could be a little bit smoother. But, I mean, this is very impressive to me as is. You also hear a double click on the close. Right there. That's the sound of it kind of picking up the flipper tab. Right there. So if you listen while I close it. It's just so much fun, man. The flipper tab works so good. So much leverage. So pleasurable to flip. It's awesome, dude. It really is awesome. I am a huge fan. Just a huge fan. This has really turned me into an even bigger Chavez fan. I loved my scapegoat. I always wanted to get another, and this was just the time for me to do it. And now that I have two, man, I want even more. I really, really want some more, man. I want a liberation. I even want this in the thumb stud version would be really sweet. Gosh, there's so many that I want. It can get a little bit confusing as far as the names of the knives. It's taken me a little while to kind of get it, and I still am kind of a little bit confused. But from what I understand, the 228 or the 229 numbers basically just mean that those are Riot made, and then the 228s are ones that are made by him. So most Chavez that you'll see for sale, all the Kickstops obviously, they're all going to be 229s because those are made by Riot. A custom Chavez is going to be a 228. I mean, Riot just did such a good job as always. I mean, man, Riot has made some of my all-time favorite knives. Both of these, they've made all my Sharp by designs. I'll just get out this one, for example. They made this knife. Let's see. Oh gosh, I'm not gonna get out. I'm not gonna get out anymore. But you see what I mean. Riot just does such a freaking amazing job, dude. They are the kings of overseas manufacturing. Absolutely. Just really, really amazing. This was a pretty expensive knife, about $400, like $370 if you had a discount code or something. That's a lot, man. That's nearing Hinderer prices. Hinderer prices are about $425. They might have gone up recently, but $425 is kind of a Hinderer price. That's expensive, man. It really is. And luckily I was able to sezzle it, so I'm making payments on it. But in my opinion, absolutely worth it to have this beast in the collection. If I was ever in a situation where, I don't know, zombie apocalypse happens and I got to grab a couple folding knives to go take out into the wilderness to survive with, this would probably be one of them. I mean, honestly, it'd probably be a Hinderer and a Chavez. They're just such heavy duty, like just beefy knives, dude. Speaking of the Hinderer really quick, it's pretty significantly heavier than the XM18. I'm just noticing that right now. Yeah, it's definitely heavier. As far as the size, let's check this out. Just about almost exactly the same length. Definitely heavier though. Heavier than the Hinderer. Gosh, this looks good with my my new regrind. This got snappier too. Now that all that weight is gone out of the blade, it's much snappier, man. It feels so good now. So freaking good. Anyways, this is not a hinderer video. So that's the knife. Really recommend it. You can still get this, I believe, at a few different retailers. He had a bunch of them made. There's a few versions. You can get it one with a G10 show side scale. You can get the drop point, like I said. There's a couple of blue versions, blue anodized. I think those are probably gone. There was ones with, I think, like gold anodized clips and some kind of pattern on the lock side. So a couple options, and the plain ones are still available. There's even an Urban EDC Supply Sagaiha milled version, probably my favorite of the fancy ones. Looked amazing. They milled the Sagaiha pattern on the scales and then stonewashed everything with their dark stonewash. It looks so good. Ugh. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Please like the video before you bounce out. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next one, all right? Later.